There are things I should have said. I didn't say them when I had the chance. And that, more than any sickness, more than any loss, more than the years that moved faster than I ever expected, that is the heaviest thing I carry. The words I kept inside. The words I never let out. That is what I want to talk to you about today. Not because I want your pity. I've lived a long life, and I'm not looking for that. I want to talk about this because I know that every single one of you has words like that too. Words you never said to someone who mattered, someone who needed to hear them, someone who maybe still can. So come, sit with me a while. This is an important conversation. I had a son. His name was Thomas. He was my firstborn, and if I'm being honest with you, my most difficult child. Not because he was a bad person, quite the opposite. Thomas was sharp, stubborn, passionate. He saw the world in his own way, and that way of seeing things collided with mine more times than I can count. When he was a teenager, we argued about everything. How a man should live, what mattered and what didn't, what he was going to do with his life. I was a strict father, the only kind I knew how to be. That's how I was raised. In my tradition, a father didn't explain himself. A father decided. A father led by example. Tender words, words of praise, telling your child you were proud of them, that was considered unnecessary, soft, weak. My own father never once told me he loved me, and I never told Thomas. When he was 22, he left, not far, 2 states over. But he might as well have gone to the other side of the world, because that's how far apart we were. We called on holidays, talked about the weather, about work, about his kids when they came along, but never, not once, about what sat between us. About the wall we had both built, stone by stone, year by year, and both pretended wasn't there. 30 years went by. 30 years is a long time to be silent with someone you love. When I was 76, his wife called me. Thomas was sick, seriously sick, cancer. The doctors were giving him 6 months to a year. I remember standing there with the phone in my hand after she hung up, just standing. My mind had gone quiet, not peaceful quiet, but the kind of quiet that comes when something inside you shifts and starts to fall, slow and heavy. I flew out to see him 3 days later. He was at home in his bedroom, thinner than I remembered, pale. But when I walked in, he looked at me with the same eyes he had as a boy, those same stubborn, guarded eyes that always seemed to be asking, "Well, Dad, did you come to judge me again?" I sat down beside his bed, and we were silent, the way we always were, out of habit, out of that old, foolish, destructive habit that had become the language between us. Then he said, quietly, without bitterness, "Dad, why did you come?" I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. And I said what I had been saying my whole life instead of the real thing. I heard the news. I wanted to check on you. He nodded, turned toward the window. I stayed 3 days. We talked about his kids, about old times, about nothing in particular. And the whole time, something inside me kept pressing, kept saying, tell him now, you are running out of time. But I left without saying it. I came back 2 months later. He could barely get out of bed by then. But that evening, I don't know why, maybe he sensed something. He asked his wife to give us some time alone. And there we were, just the two of us. One lamp burning in the corner, the house quiet around us. He looked at me and said, "You've been wanting to say something to me, Dad."
I've seen it on your face since you got here 2 months ago. Go ahead and say it.
And something in me broke open. Not in a bad way. The way a dam breaks after years of holding back more than it was ever meant to hold. That wall I had spent a lifetime building, the one made of silence and stubbornness and the belief that strong men don't speak of such things, I felt it give way all at once. I reached out and took his hand. The first time I had done that in maybe 40 years. And I said, "Thomas, I was not the father you deserved. Not because I didn't love you. I loved you more than anything in this world. But I didn't know how to show it. I was raised by a man who didn't know how to show it, and I passed that same blindness on to you, and that was my failure. I should have told you that you were good, that I was proud of you, that the day you were born was the best day of my life. I should have said those things every single year. I didn't. I am sorry." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said,
I knew, Dad. I always knew. I just needed to hear it.
We both wept. Two old, stubborn men who had wasted 30 years on silence and found each other in the last 3 months. Thomas passed in May. I was holding his hand. And I thank God, or whatever force moves through this world, that I made it back in time. Let me tell you what I took from all of this. Not as a lesson from a book, as a man who lived it. The first thing, people cannot read your mind. We tell ourselves that if we feel love, the other person must feel it too. That if we're proud of someone, they somehow know. That silence can be understood correctly if enough time passes. It cannot. Thomas grew up believing I didn't approve of him, that I thought he wasn't good enough, because I never, not once, not in all those years, told him the opposite. I assumed he knew. He didn't know. He carried that his whole life, and I put it there without ever meaning to.
Say the thing you feel. Say it plainly. Say it today, not someday, not when the moment feels right. Today. The second thing, pride is an expensive poison. I didn't speak tenderly to my son because I was afraid of looking weak, because somewhere in my upbringing, in my culture, in the story I told myself about what a man was supposed to be, softness had no place. That was pride. Quiet, ordinary, devastating pride. It cost me 30 years with my son. Ask yourself honestly, is there something you're not saying to someone out of pride? Out of fear of being seen as weak? Out of the habit of keeping everything locked inside? That is not strength. That is loss dressed up as strength. The third thing, you never know how much time is left. I told myself for 30 years that Thomas and I would work things out eventually, that there was no rush, that the right moment would come on its own. The right moment does not come on its own. You have to make it. And the time to make it is always sooner than you think. Is there someone you haven't called in too long? Call them today. Are there words sitting inside you that have been waiting for years? Stop waiting. Is there an apology that got stuck somewhere and never made it out? Let it out. Not for your sake, though it will help you too, but because the other person deserves to hear it. They have been waiting, whether they know it or not. The fourth thing, being the first to speak is not weakness, it is courage. When I sat down beside Thomas and said what I said, I did not feel defeated. I felt free, like something I had been carrying for decades had finally been set down on the ground where it belonged. People are afraid to be the first to say sorry. They think whoever speaks first has lost. I am here to tell you that is exactly backwards. The one who speaks first wins. They win time. They win closeness. They win peace inside themselves. Don't wait for the other person to go first.
Go first. I think about Thomas every day. Sometimes in the mornings, when I sit by the river, I talk to him, out loud. I tell him what's going on, about his kids, about something that made me laugh, about nothing important. I say all the things I didn't say for 40 years. I suppose it looks strange, an old man talking to himself by the water, but I stopped caring about how things look a long time ago. I finally learned to speak. I just learned it a little late. Don't make my mistake. There is someone in your life right now, today, who needs to hear something from you. You already know who it is. Their name came to you while I was talking. Their face appeared somewhere in the back of your mind and hasn't left. Call that person today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the timing feels better. Today. Because the words you keep inside don't disappear. They don't dissolve with time. They settle into you. They get heavier with every year that passes. But the words you finally say, those live in the other person. They stay there, long after everything else is gone. Thomas knew I loved him. But Lord, I am grateful he got to hear it.